In the silent hours of the night, when the world is half awake and half forgotten, a strange vibration begins to echo beneath the surface of our reality. A feeling, subtle but unmistakable, as if something ancient is rising again, something the world has seen before but refused to remember. It starts like a whisper hidden behind the wind, a vibration moving through old stones, abandoned temples, sealed archives, and the restless dreams of humanity. This is where the prophecy begins to repeat itself. And if you're watching this, it's because you're one of the few who feel it. Because in 2025, the world isn't just shifting, it's aligning. And every time Earth aligns in this exact pattern, history fractures and repeats. Civilizations fall, empires collapse, and those in the shadows step forward, not for the first time, and definitely not for the last. But before we go deeper, listen carefully. If you want to understand what is really happening in 2025, if you want to hear the truth behind this prophecy and why humanity is repeating an ancient cycle hidden from the public, you need to be part of this circle. So subscribe now and hit the like button, because what you're about to hear will not be recommended to you again. The algorithm does not like this type of content, but you're here, and that already means something. The story begins long before our modern world. Long before governments were governments and nations were nations. It begins in the era when humanity was guided by the natural rhythm of the cosmos. When rulers were chosen not for power, but for spiritual sensitivity, when the earth itself was considered a living being. Every civilization had a prophecy about cycles, not linear time, but spirals of repetition. Ancient India called it yugas, the Maya called it suns, the Egyptians called it Zep Tapi, the first time that always returns. And every prophecy predicted a moment when the world would face the same crossroads again. A moment when the shadows controlling humanity would attempt to rise for the final time. And that moment is now. Look closely at 2025. Notice how the world feels unstable, as if controlled by invisible strings. Countries argue over borders that were drawn by hands long dead. Economies tremble on foundations built from illusions. Leaders speak of democracy while obeying orders they never mention. But the real story isn't happening on the news. It's happening behind closed doors, in silent rooms, in the breath between agreements and betrayals. And those who pull the strings today are not new players. They are the heirs of something older, a shadow council that has existed through every great collapse in history. When Rome fell, they were there. When the Mayan Empire vanished, they were there. When the great dynasties of China were erased, they were there. When the world wars reshaped the earth, they were there. And in 2025, they step forward again. They go by many names. Some call them the keepers, others call them the architects. And some ancient texts refer to them simply as the hidden ones. Their existence is not physical, but neither is it spiritual. They operate in the liminal zone between power and belief, between geopolitics and metaphysics. They understand the cycles. They know when the prophecy is about to echo again, and each time the cycle restarts, they manipulate the collapse, so they can rebuild the world in their image. You might think modern governments run the world, but governments are only masks, countries are only chess pieces, elections are only illusions of control. The real decisions, the real power, the real movements of fate, they come from deeper, older forces. Forces that survived empires, rewritten religions, erased tribes, and engineered entire eras of confusion. Forces that don't need armies or bombs because their weapon is perception itself. They use fear, they use distraction, they use crisis, they use division. Because divided minds are easier to control than united spirits. In 2025, the pattern is identical to the cycle that triggered the fall of the Akkadian Empire: sudden climate instability, unexplained migrations, political fragmentation, and an elite consolidating spiritual and economic power behind a curtain. It matches the cycle before the fall of Atlantis, an advanced society disconnected from its original spiritual essence, manipulated by groups that used secret knowledge for control. And it matches the cycle before the fall of Rome, decadence rising, morality collapsing, foreign pressures increasing, and leaders losing touch with reality. The prophecy is not about destruction, it is about repetition. And the more humanity ignores the lesson, the louder the cycle becomes. Some believe the prophecy is a myth, but myths are only truths wrapped in symbols. In certain monasteries in Tibet, monks have kept scrolls sealed for centuries. Scrolls that say, when the sky dims in a year of the turning, when leaders speak without speaking, out. And when the masses forget their inner light, the echo returns. The echo is the repeating cycle, the same scenario reincarnated with different actors. And 2025 is the year of the echo. Meanwhile, in secret research rooms across the world, scientists closely observe anomalies in the Earth's magnetic field, peaks in solar activity, strange behavior in animals, and shifts in human consciousness that they cannot explain. Reports are silenced, files disappear, whistleblowers vanish. But the anomalies increase. Something is waking up, not outside of us. Because the prophecy is not only geopolitical, it is spiritual. As the cycle repeats, dormant abilities in human consciousness begin to re-emerge, intuition sharpens, lucid dreams intensify, people sense energies they never felt before. There is a collective awakening happening beneath the fear, beneath the chaos, beneath the global tension. And that awakening threatens those who have controlled humanity for centuries. Here is the secret that keepers fear the most. When human consciousness rises, their influence dies. This is why the world feels chaotic right now. Chaos is used as a distraction, a frequency disruptor, a spiritual smokescreen. If people are afraid, they cannot hear their inner guidance. If people are divided, they cannot unite against manipulation. If people are overwhelmed, they cannot question the narrative. This is not conspiracy. This is strategy. The same strategy used in Babylon, in Egypt, in the Indus Valley, in ancient China, in the civilizations of the Amazon, and during both world wars. The prophecy predicted that in the cycle of 2025, the keepers would try their final attempt to shape the world permanently. But every prophecy also says the same thing. The shadow always returns before the dawn. And we are entering the darkest part of the cycle, the part where truth and illusion merge, where spiritual war seeps into political decisions, where invisible hands guide visible chaos. Look at the world stage. Powerful nations clash like actors following a script. Agreements collapse. Alliances shift. Leaders smile for cameras while plotting behind the scenes. Every move is calculated. Every crisis serves a purpose. And every distraction hides a deeper operation. The hidden agenda is simple. Centralize control before humanity awakens enough to resist. But something unexpected is happening. Something the keepers did not anticipate. People are beginning to see through the veil. More individuals feel the energy behind events. More souls remember who they are. More minds refuse the narrative. This is the spiritual rebellion the prophecy also predicted, a quiet uprising of awareness. In 2025, the war is not between countries. It is between frequencies, between consciousness and manipulation, between awakening and distraction. This is why you feel restless, why many people around you feel disconnected, anxious, uncertain. It is not random. It is the side effect of a spiritual battle happening beneath physical reality, a battle so old that ancient shamans described it as the War of the Winds, a conflict between the intentions of the earth and the intentions of those who seek to control it. But here is the twist the prophecy warned about. The keepers are not fully human, not in the way we understand. They are consciousnesses bound to lineages of power, passed down through generations like invisible inheritance. They influence leaders through dreams, through intuition, through fear, through promises of power. And in return, those leaders enact their will on earth. Kings, emperors, presidents, CEOs, many rise and fall without ever realizing they were being used as vessels. But in 2025, the connection between the keepers and their vessels is weakening, because the Earth's frequency is rising, because human consciousness is evolving, because the cycle is reaching its turning point. This is why natural disasters intensify, why people report spiritual awakenings, why political systems shake, why old institutions collapse. Everything is responding to the same cosmic rhythm, the same rhythm that brought down past civilizations. But this time the world is connected, informed, awakening. The keepers know they are losing control, so they are accelerating their agenda. More surveillance, more fear, more digital dependency, more division, more ideological wars, more narratives designed to exhaust your spirit. But the prophecy reveals something they cannot stop: the emergence of the inner flame, a collective awakening where ordinary people remember their spiritual nature, their intuitive power, their cosmic origin. This is why you are watching this, because something inside you already knows the truth. You feel the cycle repeating. You feel the prophecy moving. You feel the world turning toward an unknown threshold. And here is the part most people never hear. The prophecy does not end in destruction. It ends in revelation. The collapse is not the finale. It is the initiation. The shadows rise only to reveal themselves. The chaos appears only to awaken clarity. The cycle repeats only to be broken. In 2025, humanity stands at the same crossroads as ancient civilizations. But unlike them, we are aware. We see the patterns, we feel the energy, we recognize the manipulation. We sense the awakening, and this awareness changes everything. The keepers cannot control a population that is spiritually awake. They cannot manipulate minds that trust their intuition. They cannot dominate souls that remember who they are. This is why they fear you. This is why they fear millions of people waking up at once. And this is why they're tightening their grip, because they know the cycle is ending, and they are losing their place in it. But now, let me tell you something. The prophecy rarely says directly. There will be a moment soon when the illusion shatters. A global event that reveals the truth. Breaking point, where humanity finally sees the hidden hand behind the curtain. It may be geopolitical. It may be technological. It may be spiritual. It may be all three at once. This moment will divide the world into two types of people: those who cling to fear and those who rise in awareness. You already know which side you're on. And remember, the repeating prophecy is not here to punish humanity. It is here to remind us of the cycles, of the mistakes, of the forgotten truths. Remind us that every fall of civilization was preceded by the same signs we see today. Remind us that darkness always intensifies before a breakthrough. In 2025, the world will not end, but the world as we know it will. A new consciousness is emerging, uncontrollable, unfiltered, ungovernable. This is the dawn the shadows fear. This is the beginning of the end of their era. And this is why the prophecy repeats, not because humanity is doomed, but because humanity is ready. If you've stayed with me until now, then you feel it too. You feel the cycle. You feel the vibration. You feel the shift. And now, the question is, what role will you play in this prophecy? Before we close, let me ask you something powerful, something the keepers never want you to ask. What if you were born exactly for this moment in history? What if your awakening is part of the prophecy itself? What if the cycle is repeating because you are here to break it? If this message resonated with you even a little, then don't leave this video without acting. Leave a like so this truth reaches others. Subscribe so you stay connected to this awakening. And comment below, "I feel the cycle," not for the algorithm, but to declare your awareness, because the prophecy is repeating itself in 2025. But this time, humanity is awake, and the shadows are trembling.